Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with me, myself, Steve, and then we have Craig, Tom, and Michael as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this Thursday evening while we're hilariously watching Man United absolutely flounder about in the. They're in the Europa League, isn't it? I think they're in the Europa League. It's one of them other shite leagues that they're in at the moment. What's the score? Oh, it's 2-0. 2-1, should I say? Right, well, I better not say anything more because hilariously Onana gave away an absolute wonder goal earlier on in the game. But yeah, I think they've found their level. United have hilarious that they have 2.34 expected goals and they're only on 2 goals, and one of the first ones was piss lucky. I wouldn't mind. But we're going to get into a couple of topics today, guys. So the topics that we have today, we have obviously the Liverpool Merseyside derby has been moved, and we know when it's going to be. Jota and Chiesa took part in training today, and there was also pictures and videos of Kostas Tsimikas training on grass today. Then obviously Christian Falk said that Leroy Sané apparently is a serious contender for Liverpool. With regards to him coming in with that player that can immediately follow in the steps of Mohamed Salah. We'll address that comment first of all. There's a reason the kid's going on a free, but we won't say anything about that. There have been suggestions that Liverpool are interested also in signing Alphonso Davies, and that Anfield will be the most plausible option for the left back. That also came from Mario Ortega, and then Real Madrid are confident that Trent Alexander, they can get him. Contrary to Alphonso Davies, who they now believe is likely to stay at Bayern, and Madrid don't want to waste time in a bidding war. At this stage, it's basically, I suppose we'll start with the latter and we'll work our way back with Real Madrid and Trent Alexander-Arnold news. Tom, are you just fucking tired of it at this point? Because I am. It's either like sign the fucking contract or go. It's one of the two, realistically, for me at this stage. It's just tiring.
Yeah, I think it's getting to the stage where no one's even talking about it as much anymore because we're just so bored of hearing about it. It's like everyone's even just sick of just the whole idea of the whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, as we said a few times, they can talk to other clubs within, 2.5 weeks. So the clock really is ticking. I think we all have a fair amount of confidence that, at least 2 will get done. But, like I said, the clock really is ticking now. So we really need some sort of action in the next couple of weeks or so. Because it's just, as I said before, it's just unnecessary noise around the club. For Slot in his press conferences, he doesn't want to be answering these questions all the time. So yeah, they just need to decide one way or another. The club needs to, well, obviously one of them needs to budge, and it looks like none of them are at the moment. So
yeah,
one party's going to have to budge very, very soon. And yeah, Trent, I'm not overly bothered about because we do have a very good understudy there. But we can't replace Virgil Salah like anywhere close. So I think the club do need to, budge a little bit for them too, just because they are so important to the team. Mm-hmm. And if you take them out, it's disastrous, to be honest with you. So yeah, we do need to get moving on them. And Trent, yeah, love him to stay, but if he doesn't, I'll get over it, to be honest with you. Even the 2 other lads that we actually really want to stay, they've been saying how much they want to stay. Trent, we've not heard a word from. So if he wants to go, good luck to him. I won't be losing too much sleep over it, to be honest.
No, nor will I. And obviously, Paul here mentioned, I'm sure inside the boardroom they already know as well as everything. And Craig, it's one of them. Like, we've said it so many times at this stage, it's just a broken record by now. Like, Trent has been very flip-floppy, and like Melissa Reddy is somebody that's one of the most reliable people, and whenever she says something, it's probably like at the last stages of it, because she'd just be one of them, a bit like Fabrizio Romano, a bit of a tap-in merchant. But basically, like, from what she said, is it sounds like the same type of sales pitch that was given to Jude Bellingham and Kylian Mbappe that she heard that Trent is kind of regurgitating into the public sphere. Does it, like, really shock you that he's possibly tempted by Real Madrid, or are you a little bit surprised that the guy who basically spent his whole life growing up in this club is now on the precipice of possibly doing what in recent memory, I suppose, has only really been done by Michael Owen and Steve McManaman, really.
I think even the tone that we're talking about it, we know it's just not right, is it? You can tell something's not right. It's these kind of like vibes we were getting, obviously prior to like as heavy as or toxic as social media is now, but when Michael Owen was on his way. Do you know, it's that kind of like, you could tell. And I think he's gone.
Yeah.
Like I can't see it being like a Virgil standing in front of the Christmas tree job next week. It sounds like Virgil's done, doesn't it? By all the kind of noise that's kind of like starting to come out. The fact that I can't remember who broke it yesterday. Was it the Athletic yesterday that said that from their understanding he's not in touch with any other club.
Same with Salah as well. Yeah, not in touch with any other club.
Same with Salah. Because we spoke about this last week. Then where did they even go? So if you look at just Virgil and Salah, where did they go? So obviously Saudi, lots of money. You could see Salah being a poster boy in that space, maybe in a few years' time. But for now, in terms of European clubs, just look at the Champions League. That sounds weird saying it, doesn't it? But Champions League at the top of there. Real Madrid in that seem to be struggling. But his BFF's there, isn't he? And Jude Bellingham. So you said, can you see him go? I can see him going. I can see him going. I can see him being lavished with praise. And I can see the second he gets caught out on a counter-attack against Real Madrid, I can see the Madristas going for him. Like they do every other player that they have. Do you remember when Owen struggled to settle? Even though he netted like 20 goals in his first season. He turned. And, Real Madrid aren't the force that they are. Even if they bring Trent in, they're not the force that they were with Zidane, Figo and so forth. He's gone with his best mate. He's going to get a massive pay fall, isn't he, when he goes there? He's going to be paid through the nose. And something's stopping me saying good luck to him. It feels...
Fuck him.
That's what I mean, yeah. I think you quote it much better than me. So, big mural of him outside the... just past the 2 minutes walk from Anfield, isn't there? Came through the ranks, Klopp supported him through and through when every newspaper was after him, saying he's not a really good defender. We turned him into the best attacking, well, second best if he goes, best attacking right back in world football. That said, I think he's easier to replace.
In this current system, I think so, yeah. I'd agree with you on that.
I think he's the easiest out the three. There's no one else like Virgil. He just reads the game perfectly. Salah can be out the game for 89 minutes and then bangs a hat-trick in like a 60-second spree. You can't really teach that. He's just always there. He's always got his eye for goal. Hard to replace numbers.
Yeah.
You can replace Trent. We've already probably replaced them, truth be told.
See, the way that I look at it is that, and Kev was on stream with me ages ago, and I'm sure, Craig, you probably remember this as well. How many irreplaceable players have we had over the years? Like, when you think about it, like, there's been... Nobody thought we could replace Dalglish. Nobody thought we could replace Rush. Nobody thought we could win Anton or replace Steve Nicol. Nobody thought we could then replace Michael Owen. And then nobody thought, oh, there's no way we're replacing Steve Gerrard. And then, oh, there's no way we're replacing Luis Suarez. Oh, there's no way we're replacing Philip Coutinho. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And to this question here, Michael, I'll throw this question to you. Jamie Hughes is asking, can a club the size of Liverpool afford to lose a player like Trent Alexander-Arnold for nothing? What do you think, Michael?
Well, I've not been a big fan of Trent. I don't see him leaving Liverpool as a big loss, because quite a number of involvements have happened in the team, and we have players that could manage up in the period when he's not available, and I think the substitutes that we have for that role can at the moment play the role that he's playing right now. And lately, I've not seen much contribution from Arnold. Possibly he's been distracted with his move to Real Madrid, and that could be the reason. But I mean, even as at last season, there were quite a number of lapses from his end. So it's not a case of us seeing right now, for me, I don't see him like a big loss to the team. So if he leaves, better for him. I mean, he just gives other people opportunity to improve and then do better in that position. And if it means getting another player for that position in January, then let's go for it.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of probably sing the same sentiment as yourself, Michael, in that Jim Hughes here mentioning no one player is bigger than the club. It will, however, sting if it happens. It won't sting for me. If he leaves, it's of his own making. It won't be the club that has forced him out. The club will have obviously done everything that they can to keep him there. But the only way I see him leaving is money. And I don't mean that in a way that Liverpool won't offer him a comparable contract. I mean that in the way that Real Madrid will say, here's triple that, and you'll get to sit in the sun and be here with your best mate. Probably what happens, in my own opinion, which is the unfortunate way of things, but we've clearly seen how the Madrid fan base basically sold out the stadium to see Kylian Mbappe, and then the first chance he misses, they're all wanting his head. So now imagine if Trent gets caught in the back post and Real Madrid lose a game because of it. I can guarantee you Trent will not be a welcome man in that city. And I don't know. And like, he's clearly, I suppose he's an athlete at the end of the day. He probably has thick skin and everything like that, but shit weighs on you, man. That kind of stuff weighs on you. I'm just having a look through some of the comments here before we move on to everything else. Jamie has mentioned here that Melissa is well connected to Mrs. Henry. I'm sure she is, as many others are. But yeah, it's Stephen Landry mentioning here, as of late, the only profile for FSG is a player that's cheap. I wouldn't say, maybe this year you could maybe make that argument, considering we didn't necessarily go for anybody or we didn't sign anybody. But if you took a look at the deals that took place, Joe Gomez said he was gone in the summer. So that rumor of Joe Gomez going to Newcastle and Gordon coming the other way pretty much was confirmed as true. So Liverpool were about to pay 80 million quid for Anthony Gordon and send Joe Gomez the other way for 40 million quid before they sold, was it Minte that they sold to Brighton? And made their 40 million and just pulled the deal out from under it. So his medical's done and everything in Leipzig, apparently. Then also the Zubamendi news, where he just turned tail at the 11th hour. Apparently that avenue is still open in the summer or in the January window. I don't think we go for it personally. And then if you go back to last summer, Stephen, like we bought 4 different midfielders, 3 of which have the potential to be world class, 1 of which possibly has the potential to be better than Rodri in Ryan Gravenberch. So it's not really, I wouldn't say cheap, but I think profile over price is probably the best way to describe them realistically. And if the data boys are back in town with Michael Edwards and everything like that, and this news about João Pedro that came out yesterday, that Charlie covered yesterday, is properly serious. So I probably think that João Pedro is a serious option for possibly next summer whenever Darwin Núñez or Diogo Jota leave. Personally, I think it'll be Jota that goes, but that is what it is. They haven't gone cheap on the Boston Red Sox. That Juan Soto deal, they literally, the Yankees just came up and dropped big balls on the table and said, here's 700 million quid over 10 years or whatever it is. Like that's there's no salary cap in baseball, which is why the likes of the Dodgers and the Yankees can just drop serious money like that on players. Because if you think about it, the Yankees a couple of years ago paid Aaron Judge only about 260 million, and now they're handing out $700 million contracts. So it's not as if they can't, but at the end of the day, it's not your money, it's not my money. I don't care what they spend, but we'll see. To this point, though, they haven't, or has he gone to the Mets? Apologies. Well, he went to New York. It's getting paid 700 million quid to sit there. He's really, they're always second, though. They never used to be. Yeah, but that's baseball, though. Baseball, that's how baseball works. I've watched it for years, up and down, up and down. That's exactly how it is. Teams come and teams go. Like my San Francisco Giants haven't won anything in nearly 10 years at this point, but at the one point they were at the top of everything and then nearly came back a year or two ago. So it is what it is. Before we move on, though, I just want to make sure that everybody likes and subscribes while they're here. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos as well so that you never miss out. We're going to jump on then to the second topic, which is part 1 of 2 of the Bayern Boogaloo that apparently we're getting 2 lads from there, with Alphonso Davies apparently being somebody that is in that Liverpool are very interested in signing. Real Madrid have kind of given up the ghost on him in that they've just assumed that he's going to re-sign or go elsewhere. They're not going to chase him and enter a bidding war. Excuse me. And that came from Mario Cortanega earlier on today. So that's possibly an option as well. Now, Tom, that would mean your beautiful bouncing baby boy and Andrew Robertson possibly is either on the way out or on the phase out. Now, we both kind of agreed previously on different streams a couple of weeks ago that he doesn't deserve to be just booted out, but he probably will phase out, obviously, with his age. Do you think Alphonso Davies is a proper replacement for what Slot would require from the left-back position, or do you think it's something more like he had at Feyenoord with a David Hanko or Geertruida?
Well, there's definitely worse options out there. You know what you get with Alphonso Davies. Obviously you're getting rapid pace, you're getting good athleticism, you're getting obviously a good offensive fullback. Whether he's a slot fullback, I'm not overly sure. I think Slot wants someone a bit more kind of pragmatic in the way they play. I think from what I gathered, Davies seems a little bit gung ho for him. But like I said, you could definitely do worse. There's the qualities are there for all to see. I think the left back market's full of amazing options. That's kind of why that's why. Although I love Robertson, I also say there's no rush to get rid of him because I'm not seeing 10 fullbacks that stand out that are miles better than Andy Robertson. So yeah, I think obviously his contract's up in 2026, isn't it? So I imagine we'll run that down. But for me, until then, he's certainly not. We have to rush him out or anything. He's man of the match last game. Brilliant against Madrid. Brilliant against Man City. So absolutely no rush for me to get rid of Andy Robbo. I do love the man, but 18 months' time could be a different story, but probably will be time to go then. But until then, I'm perfectly happy with him. I like Robinson for Fulham. That's a player I really do like. But he is 27, isn't he? So not ideal age-wise, but I do absolutely love that player. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And also I do like Lewis Hall from Newcastle as well. I do like him. I think he goes under the radar a bit. I think there's a lot to work with from him.
Don't let Carter hear you say that, or he'll think you're the best person in the world, because that's one of Carter's boys right there.
All of his yeah, I think he's only about 21, isn't he? 20.
Yeah, he's young kid.
That'll be one I'd definitely be keeping an eye on because, like I said, I do really, really like him. I think he has a lot to offer. But as I said, wouldn't be rushing to get rid of Andy Robbo. I think he's still got a lot to give over the next year or 18 months or so.
Yeah, I think he does as well. Even if it is phased out to then allow the next guy to come in and be embedded in, having somebody like Andy Robertson is absolutely fantastic to be your mentor. And also similar to Adrian, he's kind of like the glue guy in the squad. He's like the best friend of everybody. He's always having a laugh with everybody, and he's always involved in a lot of the community stuff as well. That's most fullbacks, Stephen. They do struggle with pace, especially against dribbly wingers. But again, the last couple of games he's been grand. Newcastle, I think everybody was a bit middle of the road. Paul mentioned here he doesn't have the legs for 2 games a week. Andy is the legend, though. But see, the thing about it is he kind of the problem why you think he might not have to get the legs for 2 games a week is because he didn't really have a preseason. Similar to Chiesa, he had no preseason at all. He got injured with Scotland in the Euros, I believe, or even on international camp. And then because of that, he obviously had no preseason, so he's kind of getting up to fitness. And the way we've kind of seen it this season is Slot is very, very, very slow to reintegrate players back into the squad after an injury. Whereas we were quite used to Klopp just, you're at 70%, back you go, in you go. And then that usually led to more problems because they got re-injured and everything like that. So it's a learning curve for us, or even, an adjustment period for us to get used to this kind of new wave of injury management. Michael, with regards to Andy Robertson, and obviously Alphonso Davies possibly being an option there. Is there anybody else at left back that you'd like to commit, like us to target and pursue to be the deputy to Andy Robertson once he leaves, possibly in the next year or two?
First of all, it's to consider which of these players are even available for the next 1 or 2 years based on their contract. Because I mean, as much as we want to get the best players, you have to also consider if the team is willing and able to chase these players with the big price that is being placed on them. My major concern is how much these players are being priced in regards to what they get to offer when they wear the shirts. So for me currently, I don't know of any player I can pinpoint except for the Atlanta. I'm trying to remember his name right now. The Atlanta left back player, who I think is doing pretty good. Been watching their game, especially with the fact that Atlanta. I mean, we have a Nigerian player there, which obviously I'm from. We have a Nigerian player there doing pretty well.
Atalanta as in the Italian club, or Atlanta in the US?
No, the Italian club, yeah. The Italian club, yeah.
That's not the 22-year-old, is it? Matteo Ruggeri, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like I said, I just hope that the team or the FSG is willing to make big offers for the team, and see how we're currently struggling with some of our best players, Van Dijk and Salah. I mean, I think what exactly is keeping or making this contract stay so long is it's money. So are we willing to pay big money for the big players when they are available? Otherwise, can we just go for players who can groom and then push them up and make them superstars, which I don't think Slaughter has that time to do right now. Yeah, so that's me.
I think to be a balance between both, Michael. I think so. Something that sort of came to the attention to myself earlier on today, and it was put into the group chat, was Kev shared how much money Liverpool have basically made from the Champions League so far. And because we've basically won 6 from 6, I think we've accumulated somewhere in the region of 80 million euro. Thereabouts. So something that Daniel Underwood, who's another host and guest that comes on here, he mentioned is probably the reason why those contracts took so long to be offered is because not so much that they were waiting for the money to come in, but they were essentially seeing how much guaranteed money they'd have there so that they'd know they'd have the wiggle room for profit and sustainability. And then the FFP next year as well, because so far over the last 2 years, Liverpool have had 69% and 71% of their turnover on agent fees, amortization of transfer fees, salaries and bonuses. And the limit with UEFA is 70%. So we've averaged about that. And because we basically had a year of Europa, there's like a dip in the amount of money that would have came in because it was Europa and not the Champions League. But now with this massive influx of money that came in from the Champions League of 80 million euro, what they know now is and as well the different contracts that went. So Thiago was gone. That's a 10 million a year saving. Matip and Adrian are gone. That's another nearly 5-6 million a year saving. So from that alone, we'd probably have about 100 million in the kitty at the minute in regards to mess around money with either transfers or contracts. So now that we know we have that guaranteed money next year going into the books, we can kind of up the spending a little bit and possibly pursue targets and be able to negotiate with them quicker. Now, I know we were well into negotiating in the summer and there wasn't really much of a problem, but I reckon those contracts were just left on the long finger a little bit to guarantee the money, so to speak. So I reckon that's probably what's happening there. But I think, as you said, I don't think it's money for the lads. I think it's years. I think Salah wants 3 years, but the club only want to offer him 2 years. Virgil probably is just like, give me whatever and we'll discuss it. And Trent is just match Madrid, and we're like, no, you can get fucked, basically, for lack of a better term. But Craig, with regards to like the Alphonso Davies rumours, like we had Tom mention Robinson from Fulham. We've had Michael mention the young guy, the 22-year-old from Atalanta. Personally, I think there's maybe one or two we could possibly go for. I like Carreras from Benfica. Is there anybody specifically that you would like to come in and deputise that you can think can be in the mould of what Slot might want at his fullback position based on what we've seen so far?
I like Aït-Nouri.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him in possession. I think he's constantly checking over his shoulders all the time. He's got that kind of like tiki-taka style about him. Never gets closed down. That said, he can get ran past, can't he? He's a little bit frail.
Yeah.
I like him in possession until what's that you told us last week? Like 6'8", blooming.
The Carreras guy, yeah, he's 6 foot. He's like a Guardiola light. He's 6'1". He's built like a centre back. And he's rapid down the wing. Along with the fact that I don't know, since this last stream that we had, but into the stream that we were going into, I think he'd scored 4 and 5 at that point, and I don't know what his stats were since then. That was about 2 weeks ago. So
we saw
it's
the
madness.
Performance graph, didn't we? After the chat, we had a little look, and it looked like something like World Cup winning Pele, didn't it? So I was completely kind of like taken all in for that. Is he the lad though who's got the buyback deal with United?
He is, yeah, but obviously it is the same left back. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to go to United though, purely based on how they've now set up. He's very much a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 left back, rather than your. I'm going to show you guys here now. Just now, bear in mind, pinch of salt. This is coming from the Portuguese league, and everybody knows our favorite player came from there the last couple of years that everybody loves and everybody absolutely adores, and nobody has a problem with it all. But that's him against Gvardiol. So Carreras is in the blue, Gvardiol is in the red, just for comparison between the two. So Carreras is in blue, Gvardiol is in the red. Now, bear in mind, this is of the last 365 days. So Gvardiol is doing this in the UCL and the Champions League and the Premier League. Carreras is doing this in the Portuguese Liga and the Champions League, because Benfica are sat in. We could end up actually facing him in the next round of the Champions League if they get through to it. But looking at him, it's a possible one that could be there in relation to it. He's one that I like. If I was to go and get Robinson, just purely out of an example, we get Robinson up as well, because I know that's the one that Tom mentioned. So we get Robinson, Anthony Robinson. So we'll just compare the two over the last year, and we'll get this up here 1 second from now. Okay, compare. Again, Robinson is doing that in the Premier League, and Carreras is doing that in the Portuguese Liga. Now, you also have to kind of factor in how Fulham play and how Benfica would play. Benfica will be playing in the league like we're playing in the Premier League, whereas Fulham wouldn't be playing like we are in the Premier League, so to speak, if that makes sense. So you can imagine the pass completion percentage will probably go up for Robinson. You'd imagine the assisting and shot creating actions will go up for Robinson. You'd assume they would probably fill out to something similar. The only difference is, as Tom mentioned, that Robinson is a little bit older and Carreras is 23, so he'd probably be there to be able to develop a little bit further, and I think he's a bit bigger personally, but it's one of them that could work. And then we obviously have what is his name again? It's the, give me a second. So Atalanta left back, what's his name? Ruggieri. We'll get him here now. Hold on. So that's the gentleman there who's the left-footed. So this is him doing it in Serie A. Again, you'd expect a lot of this stuff to go up in a very attacking mindset of team. Atalanta is a very man-marking, defensive, physical team. So you'd assume a lot of this would puff out when it comes to the Premier League. Now, in saying that, we've seen it so far with... I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. We'll get everybody back. We've seen it so far with like Chiesa, that there's a bit of a step up from Serie A to the Premier League. So it will be a bit worrying to see if he'd be able to make that transition. And again, as Tom mentioned, Robinson is Premier League proven. So you'd assume that the jump wouldn't be that much. But you'd imagine that all that stuff will kind of fill out realistically. It's an interesting one. I'd love to see who they're actually targeting as a left back. Would it be someone similar to a Gvardiol? If so, I think Carreras could be one of them. And he has a release clause of like £40 million, so it's not exactly like it would break the bank. And then obviously you have Robinson as well, as Tom mentioned. Ruggieri that Michael mentioned. I haven't a clue. Craig, I am the rudest person in the world. I didn't look up Aït-Nouri. I am the absolute rudest person in the world.
We all know. I think we had to look off chat yesterday. The other week,
now we'll get all the chat involved in this now as well. So don't worry. I'll get Aït-Nouri here as well. Give me 2 seconds. Where are we? Aït-Nouri. There we go.
Thing is, now it's data led. We're back to data led again rather than feel as well, aren't we? So I can't see us signing anyone over like what 25, 26.
Yeah, it's not as bad as you'd think. Again, the defensive numbers down here, tackles and interceptions, number of aerials won, dribblers tackled. It's concerning, but obviously, as you can see here, the attacking side of it is no problem for Aït-Nouri. It's the defending side of it that we have a bit of a worry about. And just to get Andy Robertson there, just to see exactly who they'd be replacing, so we can very easily go and compare between the whole lot. So that's hilarious. Andy Robertson is not defending at all. So it looks like Aït-Nouri would be perfect for that. So that might not be actually a bad shout, Craig. But something that has been noted is, and Kerkez as well, Stephen Landry's after mentioning it here, Kerkez is another option. We get him, we'll have a look at him too. Milos Kerkez is as well. We'll see here, and we'll compare him to Andy Robertson. That's a horrible picture of that young fella. He's a much better haircut now. No, and then we'll compare him to Robertson. I can see it. I can see the vision. And the dribblers tackled and progressive passes received is there. The aerials, however, is one that's shocking. And I think we might be looking for a guy that will be better at aerials, which is where I think Carreras might strive. But it's interesting to see everybody's thoughts on and how everybody views it. And obviously, as Jamie's mentions here, it's a combination of both data and the eye test. Our scouts are out this week, I hear. Wouldn't shock me. It really wouldn't shock me. But just having a look through some of the comments here, people really think that Michael Edwards will sign a 28-year-old Leroy Sané when he wouldn't give a 29-year-old Gini Wijnaldum, the great Gini Wijnaldum, a new contract. Why the F would he sign a 28-year-old? Well, if you got to sign 28-year-old Messi on a free, I think you would. Now, that's a joke. I'm not comparing him to Messi. It's completely fine. I'm not comparing Leroy Sané to Messi. But yeah, it's the left back situation is interesting. I'm very much in the same boat as Tom, where there's no need to rush it. I think we can take our time and find the right replacement. There's another 18 months before Andy Robertson heads back to Scotland and rides out the rest of his playing career as a Celtic player, because I don't think he'd go to Rangers. But that's basically how I'd see it happening. But before we move on now to some other topics, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure to leave your notifications on for all future videos and streams. Look at that spelling mistake. I clearly wrote that too quick. On full all your streams and videos so that you never miss out. Appreciate your likes and subscriptions, guys. We really do. We've nearly over 3,000 people currently watching off Twitter and YouTube at the moment. If you're currently watching on Twitter or X as it is now, make sure to jump over to our YouTube page as well. So looking at
so I want to quickly ask Stephen.
Yeah.
What site did you use to do the comparison?
That's called FBREF, and then there's a little Chrome plugin that you can put in that brings up that chart that you can compare players on. That's the Chrome plugin. So it's FB Charts is the Chrome plugin, and FBREF is the name of the website itself. It's very, very in depth if you wanted to get into it. It's one that I use a lot, and what I was doing earlier when everybody was going on about Stiller, and when we were in a group chat earlier, for anybody in the chat listening, we were going on about the difference between Angelo Stiller, who's the CDM for Stuttgart, and Martin Zubimendi. And apparently, looking at the numbers and how the data lines up, Angelo Stiller seems to be the better player, and he's about 3 years younger too. But we'll see what happens if Zubimendi comes. I won't complain about either. I will leave the charts to you and Lou, Stephen. I appreciate that, James. But just looking at a couple of other bits, we've mentioned obviously Leroy Sané and earlier, and I guess this could probably be the quickest conversation in the world, Michael. Is Leroy Sané somebody that could come in and even lace Mo Salah's boots, or even be an understudy to him currently at the moment at 28 years old?
Nowhere close. Nowhere close.
It's a silly one.
No. Absolutely nowhere close. I'm wondering how Leroy Sané, of all the players in the world, was considered as an option for Salah. I don't see Leroy coming. I don't know where the story is coming from. I don't know how reliable it is. I don't see it happening, and I don't even think the board is even considering it. I don't think they are. So it could just be some newspaper wanting to sell their papers and then just popping up something. So for me, it's a no. I won't even, if I'm given the opportunity to make the decision. It doesn't even top the list of top 10 to be a replacement for Salah. So yeah.
No, I don't disagree with you. I think it's purely just his agent putting out rumors because he's due a contract extension, and like Paul mentioned in here, when he was at City, maybe, but not a chance now. I completely agree with you. I think it's the biggest bullshit story so far this year. Craig, would you're nodding your head in agreement? Do you think this is just the agent just leaking a bit of news to Christian Falk of Sky Sports Germany, and that to answer your question as well, Michael, that's who it came from? He's on our reliability scale, he's like fairly reliable, so he probably was told this, but how much validity is behind it remains questionable, because again, Sané's in a situation where he's trying to get another contract out of Bayern, and Bayern are now probably like, nah, we're good. We're going to try and go younger than you and rebuild that way, like they did with Olise. But Craig, do you see much validity in this at all? Because I don't think this holds any water whatsoever.
I think you just summarised it brilliantly, didn't you? It's blatantly his agent kind of putting something out there. I don't think Christian Falk's kind of like said any mistruths or anything. I think he's generally reporting on what he's kind of heard. Whether the source of truth is accurate or not is the issue. Yeah. I can't think of anyone less likely to come into the squad that we've currently got. When he was at City, he'd just give up the ghost regularly, wouldn't he? If he was onto a misplaced pass, shrugging, walking back, sulking. I haven't seen too much of him at Bayern. I don't think has he even been playing that much?
He's had injuries and he's been fine, and there's been moments, but like there's a reason that Bayern went out and got somebody like Olise to come in and play that winger position that can be that out and out star. Like there's a reason Bayern went and got him and handed him 250 grand a week. Like,
did you see that Olise goal?
Oh, stop!
The other day when he sat the goalkeeper down with the eyes. I'd have Olise. I don't necessarily think that Sané would be exactly what we're after. Injuries, the wrong side of 25. How old is he now? 28.
28, yeah.
Yeah, so I just don't see it. But from an attitude perspective as well, it's just not really on what we're built, is it? So any of our players lose the ball and you can tell Slot gets right into them, you're the first one to win it back. And I don't think that I can't see Sané being that player. He could score the odd worldie, but again, I don't know if that's necessarily what we're after either. Mo Salah consistently hitting them numbers. I don't think it was probably that bad having rumours out there while the whole contract negotiations are ongoing. It probably suits both parties, really.
Yeah.
But at the same time now, I think Salah's boots are safer now if he signs that contract extension.
I think so as well. Paul, I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but I'll just assume it's the former. Maybe compete with your haircut. I'll assume it's a compliment. We'll take it as a compliment. Tom, like, I'd imagine we're going to go 3 for 3 here with how silly this sort of a rumor is, because I know further up, Jono was mentioning here that LFC transfer rumor believing too much of the media's crap. It's absolute crap, Jono. I fully agree with you. It's absolute crap. But it's the news, and we're here to talk about it and tell everybody how much crap it is. Because it came from a fairly reliable source in Christian Falk. And as Stephen mentioned here, if you listen to Falk, Alonso should be the head coach of Bayern Munich by now. The way he peddled that for months and changed his wording ever so slightly to be, and then turned around and said, as always reported. And I was like, you big bullshitter, you. But Tom, you probably, of all the wingers at Bayern, Leroy Sané is probably the last one on your list that you'd be looking at.
Yeah, I think the only place this transfer happens is on career mode, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's just not a world where Leroy Sané joins Liverpool at 28 years of age. We know how FSG work. They don't sign players for big money at that kind of age. A few years ago, don't get me wrong, I absolutely hated the man because he just turned into prime Ronaldinho, didn't he? Every time he played against us, gave us absolute nightmares. So yeah, a few years ago, 100%, he was world class on his day. I think Sané, he just absolutely seemed to terrorise us every single time. He just had that blistering pace, the power. He was just sensational, to be fair. But I think we've gone past that now. I think if you're going to replace Salah, you can't replace Salah, can you? I think if you're going to replace Salah, you need to get a number 9, and then you get like a different type of winger, because there's no winger you can replace Salah's output. So you'd have to go and get someone like an Isaac or someone like that, or Gyökeres, someone who can put a ball in the back of the net, and then you get a more creative kind of winger. Sané, I don't think he's got the best injury record either, does he? So again,
not really.
It's not ideal. So yeah, I'd steer clear of that one, 100%.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a world at all where that comes to reality.
No, I don't think so either. You're not far wrong. It's interesting with the 9 situation in the winger, because nobody's very much happy with Darwin Núñez at the moment, and nobody's really happy. Well, myself and you, Tom, aren't the happiest with Diogo Jota, despite what the rest of the fan base usually thinks. Like, I think we're both. It's not often we agree on strikers, but that's one striker we do agree on. I think that Jota is the one that goes, purely for the availability, because say what you want about Darwin Núñez's finishing, or lack thereof, should I say, at times, he still gets out there and puts in a shift, and he's always available. And that's something that can be invaluable as well at the same time, and allows your rotation of a striker. Because realistically, right now, if Darwin Núñez went down injured, we don't have Jota at least fully back, probably. Or if he went down at any point during the last couple of weeks, we would have had no striker, realistically. So because of that, I think the availability is invaluable. And I think that's probably why, and the fact that he's 25 and he's going on 26, I think there's more coachability in him than there is in Jota, because of the age and the injuries. And I said it about Thiago as well. Jim Hughes, I think we see him this weekend, to be perfectly honest, considering that he's out training in full with the squad now, along with Jota, thankfully, and along with Tsimikas as well, was out on grass training too. So that's massively positive that we can get Tsimikas back in as well, along with them 2 forwards too, because that really allows for a lot of rotation if needs be. It'll be an interesting one next summer, because the rumours are going to be rife everywhere for Jota, Diaz, Gakpo, Everton, because that front line that we have is deadly. I think we have the deepest front line in the world at the moment. We've 6 players that can go on and do a job and can match multiple profiles. So it's beautiful to see. But speaking of the guys that are coming back from training, we also have found out in relation to when the postponed Merseyside derby is going to take place. So it's pending UEFA approval, because there's Champions League games on that week. So they've decided to fit it in the 15-day period between when we play Bournemouth on the 1st of February, and then we play Wolves on the 15th or 16th of February. And so what they've done is they've put the Merseyside derby on, I think the 11th is what they're proposing. So this is the perks of finishing in the top 8 of the Champions League round that we're currently in at the moment, because we will have those 2 weeks free. And somebody like Man City, who were supposed to play after Wolves, will now need to play the midweek before and the midweek of when we travel to the Etihad. And with their injuries, with the likes of De Bruyne not able to play multiple games a week, Rodri's out for the year. They're getting Oscar Bob back. I think who else is coming back? Somebody else too. I can't remember. Oscar Bob is due to come back after he broke his leg around that time. So we could see him then as well. And unless Pep goes and finds the magic juice that he used to pump into himself at Barca, I don't see Rodri coming back. But it's I think it's possibly the best outcome that could have come from it. Michael, would you be in agreement? Obviously, the weather and everything. Look, the game got postponed. One way or another, it got postponed. So in doing so, Liverpool ended up getting an entire week's rest. Alexi McAllister of one literally is about to get 2 weeks worth of rest, considering he couldn't play against Girona and he can't play at the weekend against Fulham due to suspensions. And Ryan Gravenberch is one card away from a suspension. You'd hope he'd get it midweek or this weekend, so he doesn't, and so he'll miss the EFL game that he probably wouldn't play anyway against Southampton, and again comes back fresh for the Spurs game. A lot can happen this weekend, but are you you obviously weren't. I don't think you were on the stream when we were discussing it at the time. But are you happy the game got postponed and basically we get that week's rest, because it was looking like Everton possibly could have nicked something from us at that fixture?
Yeah. First of all, I want to urge all Liverpool fans to be calm. I have a strong belief that we're winning the league this season, and all this is happening for a reason. I think that, for me, that postponement or whatever led to the postponement of the match helped the team to relax, to chill, to recuperate, and then as well as get some rest and prepare for the games ahead. I listened to quite a number of opposing fans and how they were so disappointed that we didn't play that day, because a lot of teams in the Premier League, fans from the other clubs were expecting that Liverpool would lose that day or draw that day and then drop points and all that, but it didn't happen. And like the weekend is coming, I'm expecting that Liverpool should definitely not lose the match against Fulham. I expect us to win. The fact that we have our players coming back is a good omen for me. And like you said, I look forward to Gravenberch doing whatever he has to do to just get that rest with the EFL match and come up fresh to play the following matches that come after that. For the other players, Curtis, the young lads supporting him, I think we can do well with the suspension of what's his name again? Sorry, McAllister. Yeah, so we can do well with the suspension and just head past that match. Most likely, Gravenberch will just be very cautious in the first half, and then second half, do what he has to do to support the team, and then maybe go off on rest in the 70th or 88th minutes. That's my analysis or thoughts about it, and possibly we get a 1 or 2-1 win over that match, and then prepare for Christmas.
Yeah. Stephen here mentioning that I think if Gravenberch picks up the yellow on Saturday, he misses the Spurs game and not the EFL Cup game. No, he misses the EFL Cup game because both of them move into one. So there was an earlier point in the season where I think somebody got a red card after 2 yellows. I can't remember who it was, but it was either with City or Arsenal, and because there was an EFL Cup game the next game, do you know who it was? It was Saliba against Bournemouth. There was an EFL Cup game the following week, and he missed that game and not the what's the name for it? Missed that game and not the actual league game. He missed the Carabao Cup game and not the league game the following week. So he was able to come back for that. John mentioning here, did you leave the Pedro Porro rumours? Yes, or the Pedro Porro. Oh, yeah, we're getting him to replace Trent. The Pedro Pascal, Pedro Pascal rumours is how I'm just going to call him now. The João Pedro rumours, yes, I do. It came out of one of the most reliable sources in Brazil, and it wouldn't shock me if it happened. And to your point of Brighton being difficult to deal with, they actually like us an awful lot more than other clubs. Tony Bloom loves us. He loved us for the McAllister offer. He loved us for how we were so easy to deal with the Caicedo offer, that there was no jerking him around, and that he said that it was night and day difference between how we did business and how Chelsea did business, and he'd happily do business with us again. So the likes of João Pedro and the likes of Carlos Baleba, two of Carter's, and everybody knows Carter at this stage, two of Carter's love children. If we got the two of them, I think he'd need to be put on watch for about a week and a half, so he didn't spontaneously combust. But probably will use the youngsters for the game, the FA Cup game, for the cup game against the Southampton, or the cup game against Accrington. I think you'd be more likely to see them against Accrington, to be honest with you. But Craig, the rescheduling of the Everton game, are you happy with its placement? Because realistically, Liverpool have done the hard work early so far this season. We've beaten teams that we needed to beat, and we didn't lose against the teams that were around us, so to speak. So they didn't gain anything and we didn't get anything. The status quo remained. Are you happy with that rescheduling of it, considering that we'll have Bournemouth, then a 10-day rest, then Everton 3 days later, and then Wolves at home, and then we get a week's rest before we play Man City. Meanwhile, they'll be playing back to back before we play them at the Etihad.
I hate watching the derby anyway. It's not a nice watch, is it? It's grim watching the derby, because they always pull us down to their level. Like they celebrate, like open top bus parade, isn't it, for a 0-0? It's a hard watch, and you could just see that before it got cancelled, you're kind of like thinking the adverse weather, it was just all set up, wasn't it, for a horrible game. And so I wasn't too devastated. But then when you kind of look at the ramifications of it, because we're top of the Champions League, we get that break. We get the break. It's fit at a nice time. In between trying to get, as you said, 3 games in a week, it's spread out a lot better. Arsenal fans were fuming, weren't they? It was like you had to put like contagion gear on to go on Twitter. They were absolutely
I loved it.
fuming.
It fueled me. It was brilliant.
So that was it. James Pearce. He kind of, I think he retweeted, I think something from the Liverpool Echo. It was like uprooted trees or something on the way to Anfield. I think just outside near Norris Green, outside Anfield, there was about 3 or 4 uprooted trees. So it was bad, the weather. It's not like we played for it or anything like that. But at the same time, talk about planets aligning in terms of when you can kind of get it in. The velocity of games that our rivals have got over that time as well. You can't help but be happy. And then hopefully, if it falls on a midweek evening game against Everton, you should imagine at that time we've got a bit of rest in our legs. Obviously, the contract issues hopefully are sorted.
Yeah.
Towards that point too. You can't help but be happy, can you? And
if you think about it as well, you'll have Alisson back, you'll have Tsimikas back, you should have Ibu back, we should have Bradley back.
Will be on 10 goals.
We'll have who else? McAllister will be available for the game, and it'll nearly be full strength. You'd hope, but it's for me it was perfect. Tom, are you aware of how our record is in the Premier League at Goodison? Do you know how bad it is?
Yeah, we don't win that, do we?
No, we've won 2 games in Goodison since 2016.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was happy with it, to be honest. With the fixture congestion that was going on around the time, the 12 factor, the wind, the Sean Dyche. Yeah. We know what he's like. He doesn't need any encouragement. Obviously, they come off the back of a 4-0 win, haven't they? We come off the back of a late equaliser, which obviously wasn't a disaster, but would have been a bit of a blow for us to lose that lead. So I think everything just pointed to that was a good thing for us. Obviously, it's not ideal being 4 points ahead of the game in hand rather than 7 points. I would much rather just be 7 points clear.
Yeah.
So there is that, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, I think the rescheduling, we should have a much greater chance of winning the game. There is the night factor at Goodison, which I get. Obviously, last year they did us over towards the end of the season. But this is a lot earlier in the season. This is February. If you get an early goal at Goodison, that crowd's going to go quiet very, very quickly. They're very, very fickle. Our Blue Noses. They're great when they're winning, but when it's not going well,
it's usually not going well.
So if you get an early goal past them, honestly, there's no problem whatsoever against them. So I'm happy with when it's been put, because obviously there's a nice break, isn't it, between the games as well around that time. And don't forget, we absolutely battered them a couple of years ago in that game 4-1 when Jota scored that goal.
Yeah.
Through the net. So it's not like Goodison's a particularly difficult place to go at night. It's So yeah, overall very, very happy with how it panned out. Not ideal, but all things considered, I'm happy.
Yeah. The way that I look at it though is before we finish up, I'll just say this, but the way that we've made our hay very early in the year, so to speak. We've done our job very early in the year. I looked it up, and as it is at the moment, after last weekend's fixtures, there's 69 points available. Nice. And that we have 72 points available because of the game in hand. Of the remaining 69 points available for Man City and Arsenal, assuming 90 breaks gets you a Premier League, I think 90 guarantees you a Premier League this season. If you hit 90, you're more than likely winning it. If 90 wins you a Premier League, Liverpool require 55 points out of the remaining 72, which means we can drop 17 points between now and the end of the season and still hit 90. That works out at about 5 losses and a draw. So a loss against Everton at Goodison or dropping points there realistically isn't the end of the world, barring obviously collapse prior to them and making it squeaky bum time. But with Arsenal, they require 63 points. I think they need 61 points from their remaining 69 in order to get 90 points. And City needs 63 from the remaining 69 in order to get 90 points. Essentially, both of those teams need to be as near to perfect as possible for the remainder of the season. We've seen City do it, but this isn't the City team of old. And I think Arsenal cannot generate any offense whatsoever. And they're focusing mainly on set pieces. I see Chelsea there as dark horses. Chelsea are in a very similar situation to Arsenal and City in that they didn't drop points at the weekend, but they're dropping very silly points as they go along. They're horrible at the back. They're going to have a great run of games now for the next while, but I can see a couple of bogey teams in there for them that they'll probably get too confident with. And as well, if you think about it, them getting a good purple patch now means that come February, March time, they're going to have horrible runs of multiple times. They'll play us, Newcastle, City, Arsenal, United, all in the space of 4 weeks, and they'll be absolutely bollocksed, especially at that stage of the season. And as well, we have the opportunity to strengthen in January, as do Arsenal, and we'll see what happens then. But as it stands at the moment, I think Arsenal need to average 2.7 points a game to hit 90 for the remainder of the season. Arsenal said they have 300 players. That's very true as well. They have an A, B, and a C team. Like, it's nuts. They're playing kids against farmer teams in the Conference League at the moment. Like, I don't know how they'd be impressed by that trophy, because it's like beating up children as an adult. Like, that's essentially what they're doing right now. But Arsenal need to average about 2.7 points for the rest of the season to get 90 points. That's near perfection. And with every dropped point they play, and also Arsenal and City have to play each other in the meantime, and we have to play, they play each other before, I think after we play them or before we play them. Before we play them. We go to the Etihad before Arsenal face them, and we go to Arsenal in the last 3 weeks of the season, and wouldn't it just be beautiful for Arsenal to give us a guard of honour at Anfield in the last 3 weeks of the season? Can you imagine the fume on Twitter? Can you imagine Arsenal TV, Arsenal fan TV, and that little spastic tie in all of his full kit and his headphones with Arsenal either side of it? He'll spontaneously combust, and I will be sat there looking at it. It'll be beautiful. Lee Gunner, I think, is going to his head's going to go. His head's going to fall off if they have to give us a guard of honour. It'll be brilliant. And Lee Gunner wants Arteta sacked, which is the funniest thing in the world. But Liverpool have to average 2.2 points per game for the rest of the season. Arsenal have to average 2.7, and Man City have to average 2.8 for all three of them to hit 90. I don't think Chelsea are going to reach anywhere there. I don't even think they're going to be in the title race when it comes to March. I think they might fall off a little bit. But essentially, Arsenal and City need to be perfect if they want to hit 90 points, whereas we have a lot of wiggle room. And we have, obviously, this gap of space now that we had for rest. And then also we have that extra gap in February that we can pencil in that Everton game. So even if we lost that and continue our form, like, we've lost one game all season. We've drawn 2. And the games that we drew against was Arsenal away from home, which is exactly what you want. You don't want them winning. The whole idea of beating the top 6 in the Premier League is you don't lose away from home and you win at home. We stopped them doing both of those things in the first game. So that's vital. And then now if they come to Anfield, if we beat them, we're perfect. We've done exactly what we need to do. Similarly with City, we've already beaten them at home. We go to the Etihad, all we have to do is draw, and we've basically upped them on the points as well. And if you take a look at who we've played already, Bournemouth beat Arsenal, we beat Bournemouth. Newcastle beat Chelsea and Arsenal at home in St James's, and we were 30 seconds away from beating Newcastle, which kind of stings a little bit, but it's still a better result on the aggregate across all boards. But we're going to leave it there, guys, for today. I've rambled on enough. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure your notifications are on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out as well. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We've just over 3,500 people here watching across Twitter and YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter or X, as it is at the moment, make sure to jump over to our YouTube page, leave a like and subscribe. We have a lot of great content there, and we'd very much appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. For myself, Michael, Tom, and Craig, we want to thank everybody for joining us, and we hope to see you all again tomorrow. We will be around tomorrow for our pre-game stream at 7:30 p.m. British Standard Time, and then we'll obviously have our post-game stream at 5 o'clock on Saturday after the game, and hopefully we'll see you all then. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.